We live. We are live. What's up, everybody? It's Wednesday. Y'all gotta make sure my curls is popping. Check out the I Am Royalty period shirt. Black Jewel. Just making sure this dragon good sage is moving and grooving. Sending love and light to everybody. So I'm gonna just get started. Regardless, the ancestors got something to say. Like Andre 3000, the South got something to say. The ancestors got something to say. Y'all got an interview today, so I have to take my do down. It's style number 2 of one do. Yeah. Shout out to all my locked life sisters and brothers, and family. So, you all know, as last Wednesday, before I ever talk, before I ever do anything, I want to give thanks to the ancestors that opened this way for me to even be here. And so we're going to pour libations for our ancestors. And then, look, y'all, I put it in a cute mason jar to real throwback for our ancestors, get them a little taste of water out of something that they may enjoy and like. So I'm pouring libations to my granny, Nadine B. Ford, Ashe. And again, Ashe is a Yoruba word that means it is so. It gives power to what we're saying. So as we're pouring libations for our ancestors, it provides power towards them and for them. It also is something that's in our bloodstream. It's the power that we hold in our own bloodstream and in ourselves. So I'm also pouring libations to Amber, Ashe. I'm pouring libations to Joseph Ford, Ashe. I'm pouring libations to Bobby Little, Ashe. And if you have some ancestors that you'd like to pour libations to, definitely put them in the chat. All the ancestors known and unknown who are working for the liberation of our highest good, Ashe. All the ancestors that transition through the Ma'afa, Ashe. All the ancestors who have transitioned this year, Ashe. Alright, so today's topic that has been on my mind is faith over fear. And it's really been on my mind because it's something that I'm even dealing with. And I'm working on being vulnerable, more transparent. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to challenge myself. I did last week live for Nakabuka Day. This week I'm going to do it again. I kept saying that. So I'm like, okay, Alexis, like, let's be consistent. And so this is a challenge for myself. And I'm excited about it that I'm here. And so I know we've heard this topic, faith over fear, like so many times. It's like something that is repeated, right? But I want to talk about fear and understanding it on a metaphysical realm, and faith, understanding that on a metaphysical realm. And so in order to do that, I want to tell you all that I pulled some cards to help give some backing and some ancestral backing to this message today. So if you see me like pulling, like saying, hey, this card came up in the reading I did for the collective today, that's why I'm doing that, because I already pulled these cards. Okay. And so first, let's talk about that our chakras have demons to them. And if you're not familiar with the chakras, let me reverse. So the chakras are our energy centers, our energy wheels. We have many chakras, more than the 7 that are known. However, today I'm going to focus on the 7, okay? Along with the many chakras that we have meridian points in our bodies that allow energy to flow in and out of our bodies. So if you don't know about meridians, you don't know about all of the other chakras outside of 7, Google plus a question equals an answer. I saw that yesterday. I was like, yes. Okay. So like I was saying, there are demons to the chakras. And one of the demons to our root chakra, the demon to our root chakra is fear. And so when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, this is in alignment with what I want to talk about, because our root chakra is our foundation. And based on this book, y'all, this is a really great book. Eastern Body, Western Mind. I really love it. It breaks down the chakras along with our development. And, you know, I'm a psychologist, so I love to see the psychology of metaphysical things as well. And so the root chakra developmental stage is from womb to 12 months, right? And so all of those things that we may hear, the things that we may, that our parents go through, our mom goes through, that's what's being like really brought up in our root chakra. And it's our foundation. So the demon of chakra 1 is fear. Fear arises when something threatens our survival. Our root chakra is where we learn how to survive. It prevents us from feeling secure, focused, and calm. It creates hypervigilance, which forces energy into the upper chakras. So when we have an imbalance or excessiveness in our root chakra, it throws off the rest of our chakras. And fear is the demon to the root chakra. And we understand the acronym FEAR, false evidence appearing real. However, because the developmental point of that root chakra, that false evidence appears real because it's our foundation. It's the foundation of which we were bred into, if that makes sense. It's the foundation of the thoughts that some of us internalize, the critics that are in our heads, right? Sometimes maybe the critics who are outside of us as children. So it's important to pay attention to where fear lies in your life and where it came from. So for me, I often I can't do that. Oh, I'm not supposed to do that. Oh, I'm not supposed to do that. Because for a long time, I've been living in this realm of what others see for me is what I'm supposed to do for me. And not necessarily what I want for me, what I see for me, right? And so I don't know if maybe some people can relate to that. But I'm stepping out of that because that false evidence appearing real, I'm creating some new evidence for my life. I'm creating, I'm creating some new thoughts for my life, some new intentions for my life, no matter what it looks like. And I want to say that we can create new thoughts and new evidence for our lives, no matter what your life looks like. The external is only evidence of what's going on the internal. So when we focus on the internal, the external changes. So don't get caught up if your external is not exactly where you want it to be. Go within, focus on that internal, and watch your external shift and manifest into what you really want. And so when talking about fear, right, because it's like, now, how do I get out of that? And so in order to do that, let's talk a little bit more about the root chakra. Because remember, I'm gonna keep repeating just in case people join in late. So I'm going to repeat it throughout. All right. So the basic issues of the first chakra or the root chakra is the body, foundation, survival, roots, grounding, nourishment, trust, health, home, family, and prosperity. And I'm just going to highlight some things that stood out to me. Scared is what happened when the sacred gets scrambled. So when we have fear, it's something within us about our sacred selves that has got scrambled into a notion of maybe what everybody else sees us as, or maybe based on events or experiences that we've had, we created this notion of our identity around those experiences. So to work through fears, to learn to relax and feel the subtle energies of the body, to have pleasure and expand our attention to a wider vista. Hey, y'all. To combat fear is to strengthen the first chakra. To live with fear is to weaken it. So remember, the demon to the root chakra is what? Fear. Yes, sacred self. Yes. We must remember that that's who we are. That is who we are. We are sacred people. And if we can replace unreasonable fear with reasonable faith, remember we're talking about fear versus faith, then we have a natural antidote to our first chakra demon. And so I created this last night. I was looking at, because I just like to tap in and tune into like very high vibrational messages. And so I was listening to someone and they had this dope acronym. And so I was like, faith came to mind based on what they were talking about. And I was like, facing anything, initiating trust and hope. That's faith. Like facing anything and still initiating trust and hope. Like that is what faith is. And fear, if fear is false evidence appearing real, then we got to face anything, including that evidence, and initiate what? Trust and hope. And when we heard about trust with the root chakra, that's a part of strengthening that root chakra, is learning how to not only trust ourselves, but to trust the situations that are happening outside of us, because it's a reflection of who we are. So definitely going within and figuring out what are the things that we need to forgive. that's something that's really been heavy on my heart. In order to balance out my root chakra, is what are the things that I need to forgive, and how can I begin to increase my trust in myself, not in other people, but in myself, because the trust that I give to myself will then expand to me trusting other people and me attracting trustworthy people. The trust that I give to myself will then create me attracting people that I can trust and trustworthy people. And so everything starts within. And so we definitely have to forgive. And I want to take this time because I'm working through this forgiveness 21 days to forgive everyone for everything. And I was like beasting through it, like, yes. And then I got caught up on one of the forgiveness things. I just kind of wanted to sit with it and really think about all the things that happened that has caused me not to forgive. And so it was, I forgive my mother. And so I had to think about, like, well, one, all of the reasons that have led me not to forgive her, right? And then how that has translated into me as an adult not forgiving myself. And then kind of recreating some trauma throughout my life. And so I've been sitting with it, like, whew, because it's not something that's just a one and done fast type of thing. And I also have to get out of that notion. This journey of evolution is a journey. It's not a destination. So, be mindful of not comparing your journey to other people, not getting down on yourself because your journey doesn't look like other people's. What you had to do to survive for your life may be totally different for what someone else had to do to survive through their lives. And now we're talking about balancing that root chakra so we can get out of surviving and into thriving. Okay, and we can do that by replacing fear with faith. So getting rid of that false evidence that's appearing real and moving towards facing anything, initiating trust and hope. And the first person we have to learn how to trust is ourselves. Because as adults, right, we could say, oh, we had this childhood experience that made me X, Y, and Z. We had this experience for X, Y, and Z. We had this experience. That's very much true. And as an adult, we have some work that we must do, right? In the podcast, I think it was Black Trauma. I talked about while it may be someone else's fault for the things that we experience, it is very much our responsibility to heal. So, it's not our responsibility to heal anybody outside of ourselves. It is our responsibility to heal ourselves. And so the very first step is to have trust in yourself. And then live life from a place of hope. Live life from a place of hope that things will always manifest in the way that you need them to, and even how you want them to. That's important because some of the hardest times that I've experienced were also the times that I was so in a mindset of things will never work out for me. Things are always going wrong in my life. Hey, everybody that may have just joined, we're talking about faith versus fear in the root chakra, because fear is the demon to the root chakra. So those times when I was experiencing like some very turbulent times outside of myself, if I'm being honest, within myself, what I was thinking was really manifesting those things. And so it's important to really take a deep look at what is it that's going on within me? What are the thoughts that I'm constantly thinking? Who is the critic that is constantly in my mind? I had to ask myself that, like, who created this critic? What experiences created this critic? And why am I so hard on myself? Like, why do I think I have to be perfect? And these aren't, easy questions. Of course, when I'm talking, it's like, these are not easy questions to really ask yourself, one, but to answer from an honest place too. So definitely make sure that you can create some space to do this for yourself. Oftentimes we give and we give and we give and we give to the point where we may not give to ourselves. I was listening to someone this morning, and she said, you smile at everyone else, but when is the last time you've looked in the mirror and smiled at just yourself? Right? You bless everyone else with your smile. When is the last time you bless yourself with your smile? So bless yourself with your smile. Bless yourself with getting in tune with your body, sitting still. Ooh, Chile. Yes, our parents, yes, me, you said my mama's voice is my inner critic. Our parents' voice can become our inner critic, and that goes back to that root chakra, right? Because that is all the foundational things. And I definitely believe that, because when my aunt would get home from work, she'd be like, "Why didn't you clean this? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that?" And it was, I mean, that's just, I understand as an adult now. You get off work, you want to come home to things that are in place, right? And I also noticed that my critic is always like, "Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do? You didn't do this. You were failing." Da, da, da. So, like, yes, it's good to think about who is the critic and from which experience did that stem from, and how can I introduce forgiveness to that experience and trust within myself to create a new narrative of, you can do this, to encourage my sacred self, right? Because that's really what we're working on doing. We're working on losing that false evidence appearing real, right? And to create a narrative of trusting ourselves. And in some cases, that means we must recreate the narratives we've been telling ourselves about our experiences, right? Yes, I experienced some a traumatic childhood. And now I'm in the process of recreating the narrative around that childhood to now say, you know what? If I wouldn't have experienced those things, I doubt that I would be right where I am today. I doubt that I would have taken such an aggressive and assertive stance on healing, specifically healing and liberation of the African psyche. I doubt that, I would have been curious about, well, why do people make the choices that they make if I wouldn't have gotten those experiences? So a part of me is working towards being grateful for that experience, right? And that's not easy. It's not easy to be grateful for trauma. It's not. But that requires that we have to forgive those things, right? And we may not ever understand it. We may not ever be happy about it. And those experiences were divinely placed in our lives because, again, if we remember last week, we chose this life that we have. We chose the vessels that we're in. We chose our parents. We chose our family before we even manifested in this physical realm. Before we even manifested in our mother's wombs. Before we even manifested in our grandmother's wombs. We chose this life that we have now. And so expressing and going through this life with gratitude can help us recreate the narrative of childhoods that we may have felt hasn't served us in certain areas in our lives. So doing that can help us work through those things. So definitely put in the chat if you have any questions, any thoughts, any comments. Definitely do that. So definitely taking time out to meditate, because meditation brings answers. And a lot of people, I talk to people about meditation, like, I can't sit still, or my thoughts run all over the place. Again, also be mindful that there are many practices of meditation. It doesn't have to look like you just sitting still and observing your thoughts and going within yourself. It could be a walking meditation where you literally are walking and just paying attention to nature, paying attention to how the wind blows when you have a certain thought, paying attention if the trees move a certain way, if you see certain insects, if you see certain butterflies or bugs, or what's the color, if you see any synchronicities of numbers, so meditation can look like so many different things. I meditated when I'm twerking. Okay, I meditate in so many different ways. And so really just finding your own definition of meditation, finding your own definition of centering yourself and observing yourself and being honest with yourself to receive the answers that are within you, right? Because again, if you remember last week, our bodies is our first altar to our ancestors. So that means that everything that we need is inside of our bodies, right? Because the cellular makeup that's within us connects us to the cellular makeup of our ancestors in the cosmos, in the spiritual, in the spiritual realm. So it's definitely important to just tap in with yourself. Take time. And I know sometimes with all of our responsibilities, we get caught up in I have to do this, I have to do this work. I've been looking more at my chart this week. And I got some new apps for y'all I'm going to talk about. I've been looking more at my chart this week and really realizing I'm a worker bee. and I gotta chill out. And so really this past 6 months I have been like chilling out more, going within myself, and really thinking about, what are the things that Lex wants to do. And I use Lex because that's my most vulnerable, that's my authentic self. Dr. Alexis Davis is a part of me. Alexis is a part of me. Dr. Reliable Jewel is a part of me. But Lex, honey, when I say Lex, I'm talking about 35th and Benton Lexus, okay? I'm talking about KCMO 816 Lex. That's what I'm referring to. What is it that Lex really wants? The innermost vulnerable part of me. What is it that she wants? And how can I feed her spirit? And being honest about that, because there was some things that I was doing that just, I thought it was what I was supposed to be doing because it will make other people happy. And when we do things that we think will make other people happy, guess who it leaves to be unhappy? Ourselves. Guess who it leaves to feel like, oh, I'm always giving and never receiving? Ourselves, right? So good old 30, baby, because I'm tiptoeing in my Jordans into this 30 once February hit Chile. Yes, good old 30s. So it's and I work with a lot of and I'm around a lot of Gen Z babies, and they're not in their 30s, and they're doing a lot of this work. And shout out to Darium. They're doing a lot of this work. So my goal is that, yes, I want to experience this in my 30s, and I want, the people who may climb the ladder that I'm laying, for them to be able to say, you know what, I didn't have to wait till I was 30 to start going through some of these things. I opened myself up to this experience. So by the time they're 30, I want to see yachts and shoot, some people may be living in the woods with tiny homes they done built and all different. I want to see that happening, more of that happening than people like feeling like you literally busting through a whole nother paradigm shift, which you are when you go through 30, right? But we could transition a little bit more smoother into that. And that takes us being honest with ourselves and taking time out to really, do things like this, and me challenging myself to get on here and be consistent. Sorry, y'all, I feel like I look like Tyrone Biggums at the lips. But I keep licking them like LL Cool J. But yeah, like just being consistent with our healing. And noticing the things that may be stopping us. I know I had to realize that when I wake up, so I had to shift my morning routine, because I literally was waking up and going straight to devices and straight to like, okay, I gotta do this today, I gotta do this today, I gotta do this today, before I had even said thank you. Before I had even said, like, ancestors go forth through my day, watch out, clear the path to my day, allow me to walk graciously through my day, allow me to be intentional about the moves I'm making through my day, allow me to move with love, light, peace, and prosperity. Like, being mindful of the things that we're doing that may really be us resisting a transformation in our lives. And with that, be mindful of the people, places, and things we may be holding on to that gave us comfort at one point in our life, but it no longer serves us well in this point in our lives. And being okay with that. That's another thing that sometimes I'm like, ooh, I'm supposed to be, connected with the same people. And no, that is not life. People come into our lives for reasons, seasons, or lifetimes. Someone said that to me. And it's really not our job to figure out that thing. It's just our job to dance through life and be okay with the reason, season, or lifetime relationship or connection that we have. Also being mindful of like the attachment to limiting thoughts that we may have, right? Like, and that goes back to that inner critic. The thoughts that we have about our capabilities of things that we can or cannot do. Where did that come from? Right? Like, believe in the impossible. That card came out. Like, where did that narrative come from that I can't do X, Y, and Z? Or I shouldn't do X, Y, and Z? Or if I do X, Y, and Z, I'm going to be in trouble, or I'm going to be considered a heathen, or whatever, right? Like, I know for a while, I have been on Facebook since 2013. And when I got back on, I was just like, oh, how do I navigate this whole realm of Facebook? And for, a week, I was just looking at how everybody else was posting and was kind of just like overwhelmed with like, how do I, integrate myself into this? And then something just hit me. Spirit hit me like hard over the head. Like, why are you focused on integrating yourself into something when I didn't place you here to fit in? I didn't place you here to figure out how to, become someone else's shadow. I placed you here to be your own being, right? And so really realizing the attachment that we may have to limiting beliefs, the attachment that we may have about who we are, and really embrace the gifts that you are blessed with, right? Like, we all have gifts. And sometimes that fear, which is that demon to that root chakra, keeps us stuck in survival mode. And when we're in survival mode, we're on the defense. So when you're on the defense, sometimes you don't see everything because you're like this. You're like, no, I gotta move forward. I gotta keep going. But really what we're doing is willing something to happen when we probably need to sit down and just allow spirit to allow whatever needs to happen to happen. And that's not saying like give up, right? That's saying like literally ask for guidance and being okay with asking for guidance. So yes, faith versus fear. Fear, remember, is false evidence appearing real. Ask yourself, is this evidence really true? Is this evidence really something that I even want to flow with? And from which thought, from which I within me is this evidence appearing? And then remember, faith is facing anything, initiating trust and hope. So remember that you can face anything. Trust yourself, trust spirit, trust the higher power that you believe in. I love to tell my Heelys, like, hey, if you believe in a tree, when I say God, universe, spirit, because I know Genesis told me that the land was split and the people spoke many languages. So if the people spoke many languages, that means there are going to be many names for the higher power, right? So we got to kind of get comfortable and get out of the whole notion of judging folk for saying spirit, God, tree, and whatever you like. Hey, you connected to that, and that's what, when land spoke, that's the language that you were led to speak. Speak your language. So, really tapping in with your spirit and your higher power to get guidance. And your higher power may be your ancestors. Like, trusting yourself in your spiritual journey is so important, because when you stop trusting yourself in your spiritual journey, you could be led by wolves. So please, remember, faith is facing anything, initiating trust and hope. Trusting yourself, trusting the process, hopeful that all things are always working according to the good that you are manifesting in your life. And if you notice that there's some misalignment, remember that misalignment is only a reflection of maybe some of the misalignment that may be occurring within ourselves. So definitely take time out today. I'm challenging and encouraging everyone to take time out today, even if it's 5 minutes. Sometimes we think we gotta have a whole hour, or no, you gotta start somewhere. So even if today you only take 5 minutes to tap in with yourself, you take 5 minutes to look over your, natal chart to get a message about yourself and how you can love yourself a little bit more. And I did say I had a new app, Nebula. One of my big sisters put me on to Nebula, Nebula. I have been using just CoStar and another Astro something, I can't think, but I'll put it in the chat after I end the live. But Nebula, that has been helpful to me. I literally read through my chart and what it meant for each thing, each planet, each sign to be in each house. And it helped me just to understand myself so much more, and it really helped prepare me to do this live and to be vulnerable. And sometimes we can't be vulnerable because we don't understand ourselves. And so I'm just encouraging everyone to do the work that leads you to faith and the work that leads you to give up fear. Hey, April. Do that work because you're worth it. Like we are, let me include myself. We are so worth healing. We are so worth loving ourselves. We are so worth having peace. We are so worth beaming the light that we give to everyone else towards ourselves. We are so worth having the abundance that we are calling forth inside of our minds that we may be scared to mention out loud. We are so worth like everything that we desire. We're worth that. And we're worth having the desires of our hearts. And we're worth doing the work. So please, today, remember that we can embrace faith, not fear. And we can do that by getting rid of that false evidence that's appearing real. And facing anything, initiating trust and hope. Like that is my mantra this week. I'm facing anything, initiating trust and hope. I'm facing anything, initiating trust and hope. I am facing anything, initiating trust and hope. Because I know that anything that presents itself to me is either a reflection of the healing that I have to do within me or something that my higher power brought to me, again, to heal me, to lift me into the next phase of my life, the new paradigm of my life. And I'm doing that with trust and hope. I'm learning that as I go. It's not something that I'm perfecting that as I go. And I'm not aiming to be perfect. I just aim to perfect myself every day. And so I just want to send love and light to everybody. Remember that believe in the impossible. Remember, fear is the demon to the root chakra. We must release fear to create a steady and sturdy foundation. And just remember that I send you peace, love, light, joy. Remember, as you heal yourself, you heal your family. As you heal your family, you heal your community. As you heal your community, you heal the world. Healing began with who? Ourselves. Peace and